Hi, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and today we have a little something special. Um, a big announcement. I got a press release just now from Disney that Andor is coming to Broadway, and they've given us an exclusive look at the new song by Luthen.
What do I sacrifice? Calm, kindness, kinship, and love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. Make my mind a sunless space. What do I sacrifice? I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago. There's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield. My eagerness to fight. They set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost. And by the time I looked up, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet, which is why, what is my sacrifice? I've condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my light to make a sunrise I will never see. And ego, I've started this fight. We'll never have a meal or an audience, lots of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice every day?
With MakingStarWars.net.
What will they think of next? I mean, they're really doing everything.
I blame myself, Jason.
Mhm.
See, I knew when I suggested to you Chomp the Frogs was going to be a hit, you would ignore me and go and make that like a 2-minute long disaster piece.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I mean, Luthen, man, that speech to music. I mean, come on.
I had to go and I was trying to find like most annoying long Queen songs. So I know this sounds eerily like annoyingly familiar. Like,
yeah, no, it's no Melancholy Blues. It's no Melancholy Blues. That sounds good.
Yeah, I was listening to it again. I'm like, nah, this is too good for that. Like that's how bad we are.
How's it going, Mr. Santa Claus? How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. I'm interested in talking about the topic today.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I first we got to cut to Santa's new #1 hit, Melancholy Blues. My elves left me, Jason. Right before Christmas. Okay, that's enough.
No. Okay. So today
what
we're going to talk about is this weird news that I think it's smart. Star Wars Andor is going to be on Hulu, FX, ABC, and something called FF. I have no idea what that is. I think it's for
FFS. Oh, they were so close, Jason.
Freeform.
They were so close. For fuck's sake, yes.
Yeah, I just had the S.
That's what I'm saying. They were, so close.
And let's make fun of Bespin Bulletin for 1 second. Why we think it's genius move. There he goes, speaking for everybody. Just a heads up, he's the only one there. There's no one else there. I don't know who he's talking about with this royal we. I mean, he is from Wales, so I guess he's like, I'm the Prince of Wales, the royal we.
Jason. I don't know if you're aware of this. Nick left him, but Nick's mustache stayed, so there's still technically two working there. Like,
right.
That's how.
And there he is. You said his name, and there he is.
Oh, hey.
Nick's taking credit. Okay. I roll it back. Nick does all the work. Bespin's just there reaping the rewards. So Andor to air on ABC, FX, Freeform, and Hulu from November 23rd. Why we think it's a genius move. And he goes on to say, Lucasfilm have taken to social media to announce that the first 2 episodes of the critically acclaimed Disney Plus series Andor will air its first 2 episodes on ABC and Hulu on November 23rd, FX and November 24th, and Freeform on November 25th. Sorry, I'm laughing at my own jokes right now. I'm just remember how dumb that song was. The move is likely an attempt to attract
I've had all night to think about it, Jason.
a wider, more mature audience to a series crafted by the mastermind behind the Bourne franchise, Tony Gilroy. And right there, we'll go back to the article, but I want to interject our thoughts too. I don't want to let Bestman take all the credit for our thoughts. You know how he does. We think this. No, what do you, Santa? You think this is a good idea, or do you think it's like the people on Twitter told me? Oh, they're shaking in their boots because they're failures.
Well, I have seen that as well. Like it smacks of desperation.
That's what they said. That's exactly what they said. That was the talking point I got.
Yeah, I just like or maybe since they don't have to pay franchise or licensing fees to themselves to show their own stuff on their own networks, maybe they're cross-platforming and trying to get a broader audience in and benefit from some ad revenue by people purchasing ads, say on ABC. And we were kind of talking about it earlier on my members only monthly meeting, where
Shameless plug.
in the past they may have taken some content, put it on physical media, and released it to get some extra ad or extra revenue. Mm-hmm. And in this case, why not take Andor, put it over on ABC, get some ad revenue, play it over the weekend, over the holiday, whatever. And here's a bit of speculation: do you think that perhaps they'll put, say, Mandalorian season 1 on FX for a weekend? You know how they license out the Star Wars movies to Turner or whatever, right?
I think it's like the episode, the announcement. I think they're trying to announce to those channels and to those audiences, you should come over to Disney Plus and watch this show on Disney Plus, because we will make this kind of content for you if you come over here and you watch it here. And I also think the show doesn't have stellar numbers. It's not Disney Plus's number one show. So I think that they also need those people to come over. So that's why I don't think we're going to see Mandalorian. I think this is about funneling everything that way, not funneling things all over. I think they want those people to go there. That's my guess.
Mando season 3.
What's up, everybody? It's Filoni. Hey,
Filoni.
I just wanted you to know we're all putting on a new show on Hulu called Only Mando's in the Building.
No.
It's a who doing it, Jason? Who's doing it? Mando's doing it. Can't wait.
Go back to the lunchroom and steal people's lunches again, Dave. Do what you do best.
But what about leading into Mandalorian season 3? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be a good idea to put on ABC? And
but
FX?
you end up hurting your subscriber model. You end up making it where the only place to get Star Wars. See, they've wanted it to be this whole time. The only place to get Star Wars is Disney Plus. And I think this time, I think this is the exception. Is that it? I think it's about getting the people who watch FX shows and Hulu shows, Handmaid's Tale, and that kind of stuff, to get them to be like, oh, Disney Plus isn't just for kids.
So you don't think like Mando season 1 and 2 would raise interest for people to go to Disney Plus to get Mando season 3?
It might, but I don't think that's the agenda. I wouldn't argue it's a bad idea. I just don't think it's their agenda.
Well, speaking of agendas, Jason, you know what would be a great way to get people to go to Disney Plus? You know it would be a great way to get people to go to Disney Plus, like a big commercial. Mm-hmm. A Mandalorian movie, Jason. We're in the opening crawl, summarizing some of the adventures that you could go watch on Disney Plus when you're done with the movie. You know, like
remember that interview
$3 billion at the box office.
Talk about that guy. The worst person in the writer's room is the guy who has one idea. Gee, no, I'm kidding.
Oh no, I got a lot more ideas, Jason, but this is the one I've been consistently correct on. Look, I know you said that they didn't want to do it because all the money's to be made on Disney Plus, and then they go announce a loss on Disney Plus over the last fiscal year. So, this is a way of trying to get more people to go to there. I'm telling you, man, the best way to get people to sign up for your shit is to have a big box office win. A lot of people sign up for that old Paramount Plus after that Maverick shit. So there's just a way, man. And what's great about it is you don't have to say, hey, that Mando movie, I wish they'd make some prequels. No, we already got them. They're on Disney Plus. You can go watch 3 seasons worth. So, like, that's the benefit of having an opening crawl. Like the Mando movie can do the opening crawl, Jason. Whatever.
I don't know. Well, I know they won't.
Crawling their way to trying to get some subscribers on Hulu. When Hulu should be part of Disney Plus. This is so weird.
Well, that's how it is in England. In England, it is that way. And that's what they're like working towards, but I don't know, man. One last thing. Over the weekend, I never watched a Bourne movie, and
poor Jason.
I rewatched Michael Clayton, and that movie holds up really, really well. Michael Clayton's so good, and I went from Michael Clayton though to Bourne, and I'm like, Bourne's okay. It's not that good. Michael Clayton's perfect. Bourne.
You watched the first Bourne?
The first
Bourne. The first Bourne is the shakiest one, dude.
Okay.
Like they hit their when Paul Greengrass comes on board. It's the director. It's not the writer.
Okay.
So and I like it because it's similar to like how I spent my time in Europe, but 2 and 3 is where it shakes
you're not paying
out.
attention. Santa's becoming an evil villain right below you right now, and you don't see it happening. He's got like a cat.
He turned
on
Meg
his
into a
lap.
cat, Jason. I don't think you're aware of this. He used the powers of the Christmas spirit. Dude, that's actually Meg.
That's
Like,
actually
I don't know if
Meg.
you're aware.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
Sorry. People on the podcast can't tell Santa's turned Meg into a cat.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. So Bespin goes on to write, Andor, though a critical darling and seemingly loved by those who tune in every week, has struggled in viewership when compared to its live-action Star Wars predecessors, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's not to say the show is a commercial failure, though many who dislike the series would have you believe that's the case, but it's a much harder sell when compared to those that came before. The Mandalorian birthed a pop culture icon in the form of Baby Yoda Grogu, which drove a more casual audience to the series as Baby Yoda mania swept the world. The Book of Boba Fett launched with ties to the phenomenon that was The Mandalorian and focused on an already iconic and established character familiar with audiences, and Obi-Wan Kenobi saw the return of Ewan McGregor in the titular role. He loves to say titular role, and Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader after years of anticipation. All 3 shows.
Jason,
yeah.
I don't think you're aware, but you forgot to tell people that Nari's original name was Nips.
Oh, well, now
Because it was part of a titular show. Yeah. I know. It's not good, but I had to get that in there.
I don't know. All I want to say is Bix is a titular Star Wars character. I don't even know what the word means. I haven't looked it up yet. All
Nips
3
is her
shows.
sister.
All shows.
It's the new show. I should have gave that to Felonious.
All 3 shows have a broader
Should write
appeal
this shit
to
down more often.
a general audience. The characters are well known, and each series was written with viewers of various ages in mind. I agree with old Klespin there. I mean that makes sense to me. You have a character with absolutely zero legacy. I mean, he has the Rogue One film, but I would say it's a very new legacy. Most people, you don't hear Cassian Andor jokes in the pop culture. You know what I'm saying? Like Boba Fett, you might hear like that on some stupid show, like Young Sheldon or some crap like that would probably say Boba Fett. Like they might say that. That might show up there.
It's not an action figure show though, Jason. And so far they've been making action figure.
I don't know. Bix's figure is pretty good, man. I'm saying.
I'm not shitting on the idea of an action figure thing. I love the Mando. I mean, I got the fucking toy up there. It's ridiculously huge.
Yeah, you dork.
It's gonna kill me one day,
couple-
Jason. I'm just gonna be
couple
trying to
of
get a
dorks
pencil.
on
It's
this
gonna fall.
show.
I'm death by Razor Crest, death by Kenner, which, by the way, Kenner understands that. So, little Kenner jokes. It's not an action like even like, forget the show itself, just the marketing of it, because you can always, Jason, as you know, every studio is capable of marketing to you something you don't want to see as something else, right? Like you go in thinking Batman and Robin's gonna have Danny Elfman music, and it don't, because they just lie in the trailers and in the marketing. So there's no way to turn Andor into like an action figure, right? Like I mean, literally he has an action figure, but he's not a toyetic character is what I'm trying to say. The robot is, which is why whenever they first announced this show back way years ago, everyone kept asking, where's the robot? When's he gonna get the robot? When's he gonna get the robot? Because the robot is an action figure.
Yeah, K2
Not just in that he's a droid, but in that he's funny, quippy, doesn't get the concept of death. That sort of thing.
And once again, though, I mean, it's like people want to. Kathleen Kennedy is Kathleen Kennedy is the poster child for whatever the opposite of your opinion is. So she did this show, so it's not all about action figures. So then, therefore, she's an idiot. And then if they do something else where you get a lot of variants and you get porgs, then it's all about action figures and it's all about product. It's like, look, I give them credit for doing both. I mean, I think some stories are opportunities for that kind of stuff, and just some just simply aren't.
And I do believe super popular stuff should fund more artistically adventurous things. I don't think that artistically adventurous, I don't think Star Wars Visions should have to do so well it funds a new season of Clone Wars. Clone Wars should be so successful it's funding experimental, artistically adventurous projects like Visions to diversify and take chances, and that's kind of the whole point. So if Mando's able to pave the way for an Andor, then even Kenobi and Boba Fett, they're all able to pave the way for an Andor, then everyone wins. But when everyone's like, boy, Andor's not bringing in subscribe, that's some Netflix level way of thinking that's horribly wrong, because if you go down that road, you're never going to keep the base you got. You're just going to get people signing on when there's something they want to see and then quitting their subscriptions when there is anything they don't want to see. And that's what you don't want. You don't want that.
Without going down the rabbit hole too far, I do want to ask Santa's opinion about this show before I forget about this with toys. I saw you make a face. Do you disagree about it being? Do you think there's a lot of action figure opportunities that have like a mass appeal other than like somebody like me and Rob putting it on our desk kind of?
Well, Rob kind of self-corrected in the middle of what he was saying, because they literally have released action figures, right? It's like, well, it's not an action figure thing. I'm like, except they did make action figures of these, and they're selling the vintage and Black Series lines on these. How marketable are they? How many people are going to see them in, Target or Walmart and say, there's that superhero that I need. They're not. And so I agree with you that they're not largely marketable action figure characters, but that doesn't stop them from trying.
When I say action figure, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about whether they have toys or if they could sell toys. I'm using action figure as a term for like superhero. Okay. Right. So Luke Skywalker is a superhero type character. Okay. He's a lead character. He's got the thing. He's one of us. He's the little kid who gets the superpowers and defeats the big bad guy.
Rob's wrong.
It doesn't mean Luke Skywalker.
She's a girl. She's not a cat. You sounded.
The cat's not in the frame. The cat. What do you think happened? Santa threw his candy cane like Willow magic and then unmegged her. Uncat her. Maybe
Hi, Newt Maygun.
Hello.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
Not too shabby. What do you think, Meg? What do you think about the Andor going to basic cable?
I think it's really cool. It could attract like a wider audience for season 2.
That was my thinking too.
Get some of that like adult, kind of more mature audiences on board.
Yeah.
I'm curious about
just
one thing.
Well, wrap up what I was saying. Let me just finish what I was saying really quickly, and I'll let you guys talk for the next hour. But Andor and the Rogue One stuff generally is not about a group of superheroes who gain powers to defeat the Empire. They're actually what happens when humans have no help from superpowers and have to like basically find a way to deal with a fascistic totalitarian government on their own. It's just inherently not superhero-ish, you know? At the very best, you're more in like Batman territory where it's like a normal guy who may have wealth who can kind of fight like a giant system. It's a little bit less than that. And in Andor itself, the whole show and the whole look of it is just not like, you don't get like there's not an outfit Andor's going to wear that every kid's running out to grab the jacket over. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I say action figure, I'm just saying it's not like you look at it and you go, oh, Moon Knight. I get Moon Knight's got a moon in the night. You know, it's a more complex sell, conceptually speaking. I'm not specifically talking about whether he has, I mean, fucking Slice Noodles has an action figure, so we can do this all day long if that were.
I love that set as a kid. That 3-pack, I had that. That was good.
I'm curious why they're opening on ABC Hulu with 2 episodes. Didn't they open with 3 on? Like,
maybe so you go over to Disney Plus and continue to watch the whole show. That's why I think it. That's why I.
But wasn't it sort of essential to get that 3rd episode to kind of get people hooked into watching the rest? And that's
or you
was
go
one
to
of the
Disney
arguments.
Plus and watch those.
Santa's acting like he doesn't know how to string people along for the holidays. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
no,
he basically invented Black Friday, you know, as a prequel to Christmas.
Well, he invented the Easter Bunny for some walk around money. People don't know that. But
someone told
true.
Santa to
You're
lay
not
an
supposed
egg
to
and
share
he got
that.
Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny does live in my house, so
I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna record it on FX and just like check, just to see. I'm gonna see if they try and push anybody towards Disney Plus to watch the rest in the ads and stuff. Like, is there any of that? Like, is any of that like apparent? Do they let the audience know you can go watch the rest of this right now? Like, Interview with the Vampire, a show, one of the many shows that's crushed me this year with having a lot of potential and not seeing it.
Kathleen Kennedy ruined that show too, right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm gonna blame her. No, but what they would do on that one is they would put one show, the new episode on AMC, so you could get a week ahead every week and go watch it on the AMC app if you wanted to subscribe to it. And they were really, really like, go to the AMC app. They kept telling you, and I eventually did because I'm a sucker, and I just got madder. But that's what happens, and so that's what I think the like little agenda is myself. But
well, let me ask this question: do you think that if this is successful, they'll do it with other series the same?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I kind of set it up, right? If successful, then
I firmly believe she just likes to put her GIF in here, so we can.
I'm just trying to make sure they got a chance, but she didn't hear me.
Look, I don't want to break the embargo, Jason, but why not? They're gonna put the first 10 minutes of Pinocchio up on Hulu, you know, and then you're just gonna drive everyone to come to Disney Plus to finish the film. So, Sorry, spoiled. Spoiled.
Uh-oh.
Sure. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one.
No, one thing I think that most people, Bestman's probably going to hit in this article. I honestly haven't read the article yet. I was doing something else. Sent it to me. I was like, yeah, of course I'll use it. Hulu and all of these properties in the UK are all together already on Disney Plus. Like, they're watching stuff from those properties on Disney Plus. In the United States, we're not, though. So we're all like, what does this mean? What is it? And but that integration is slowly happening. We're seeing the integration of that stuff unfolding. We're seeing the parental controls coming in on the app and stuff like that. They're like easing us into it for some reason because we're
more likely to get Medicare for all before we get that in the States, Jason. They're moving at a glacial pace here.
Yeah,
just like,
no, but they are. But they are.
Warner Brothers has been bought and sold twice before they've been able to like integrate Disney Plus with all their other content. This is ridiculous.
But they've done it worldwide. They just haven't done it for us because we're a bunch of babies over here. Act like, oh my, like my father, for
Hard to
instance,
argue.
saw that what's the Werewolf by Night? He's all, I thought Disney was for kids. And I'm like, that exemplifies the problem right there. Like when he saw it, he's like, this isn't like a Disney thing. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the problem is it's called Disney and people have this. I'm like, yeah, Dad, you're watching like superheroes machine gun each other down on the show. Like, why does that somehow cross the line for you? And he didn't have a big problem with it. I don't want to overstate that. But he was just like, but that just goes to show how market reaction is to something like that. And
the goofball in me, Jason, says that Disney Plus should be the one for adults, and Disney Minus or Minors should be the one
minors.
for minus, right? Right? Come on, come on. It's
right.
Okay. I
right.
do this for free, folks. You get what you pay for.
Bespin goes on to write, on the flip side, when Andor was announced back in 2018, it was met with a real lack of enthusiasm from fans, with many questioning why Lucasfilm wanted to produce a series based around a supporting character from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. From day one, Andor had an uphill battle. It not only had to appeal to a more mainstream audience, but also convince the hardcore Star Wars fan base as to why it deserved to exist. On a personal note, out of all of the live action series, Andor has always performed the worst on this site. Same. And after speaking with several other creators with far more popular sites than my own, it seems to be that way across the board. As I mentioned earlier in the article, those who tune in every week for Andor love it, as do critics. But it appeals to a more mature audience that isn't filled with the fan service moment that filled The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and
the action figure shows.
Yeah, I've spoken with many parents whose children find Andor boring, but love the live-action Star Wars series that came before. There's not enough action. They don't deserve the themes, and overall, it's just not engaging for them, for those of a younger age, which is what I've had with my children as well.
By many parents, he means you, right? Just like
I don't know.
We say this, he means him.
Maybe. Yeah,
many
I don't
parents,
know.
he means. I've talked to Jason Ward.
He's an affable guy. He's an affable guy. He probably has friends, so maybe I don't know. But that has been the case. Is my kids enjoy it, like when we watch it in 15-minute chunks, but it doesn't move to the next action sequence fast enough. So,
well, Giorgio here. Jason, the trick to that is to get them to watch THX 1138 from about the age of 3. And you just make them watch it every 3 or 4 months. And then by the time they're 10, they'll watch anything. Chernobyl, Solaris.
I used to rent THX as a kid and be like, why don't I love this? as a small kid,
Jason. Francis said the same thing, and Marcia and Brian and Steven and
it's like your annual where you make Rob watch the holiday special. That's an annual tradition, right?
It's coming up.
Do that every year. Yeah,
it's coming up actually.
What?
It's in a few days.
What?
That's what I was thinking. It's about time for that annual holiday tradition.
Yeah.
That Rob loves so much.
There's no such thing. That does not exist. Yeah.
What I'm going to do this year is I'm going to trick Rob into thinking we're doing a live stream, but it'll just be one that's not live. That way we can watch the whole thing without getting taken down. And he'll be like, the stream's just going to get taken down. I'm going to win, but he won't.
Well, that's how I got people to see the Phantom Menace originally, Jason. Like I tricked them into the theater and we locked the doors. Like, you ever see that movie, Lean on Me? It was like that.
Oh man.
All right.
They filmed that just down the street from me. But yeah, so anyways, Bespin, let me see, is there a lot more to this article? No, there's one more paragraph. Disney deciding to air the first 2 episodes of Andor on ABC, Freeform, FX, and Hulu is a slightly unorthodox move. Until now, the live-action Star Wars has been exclusive to Disney Plus, a streaming service which, at least in the USA, has a more child-friendly perception among audiences. Something that these other networks don't. Naturally, by putting the first couple of episodes on these networks and services, they're essentially putting a message out to audiences on those platforms that this is not like the Star Wars they've seen before, and will encourage them to not only watch the show, but then get them to check out the rest of the episodes on Disney Plus, which will also help alter the aforementioned perception of Disney Plus, and of course, get more subscribers. It's also no coincidence that Disney will begin releasing the first 2 episodes of Andor across these networks on the same day that the season finale airs on Disney Plus. You'd assume that Disney is hoping that those impressed by this series will subscribe to the aforementioned streaming service to continue their viewing. It's an interesting experiment, and who knows if it will work, but to me, it feels like a genius move. So that's what Bestman says. Like I said, I think it's just laying out what's actually going to happen, what they plan to do, which is the integration of grown-up content on there. I mean, like once we start getting like the Fox content, once the Fox deals start to sort of age out, we start to get all of that content hitting and stuff. It's going to be a different platform.
Any decade now, Jason. They need to get around to it. I mean,
no, well, they made a bunch of deals. They made a bunch of deals before Disney Plus was a thing, and that's.
But Herman's Head doesn't have a deal. It can be up right now, Jason. Herman's Head can be up right the freak now. Not on Full Frontal. Not on For Fuck's Sake. Not on for Forced Fuckers, whatever that shit is. I don't know. You know, like Herman's Head could be on there right now.
Yeah.
You know, Tracy Ullman Show, that's going nowhere. You could put that. You can delete the Simpsons is on there. No, they could do all of it. Take it back. Take it back. They can do everything.
Yeah.
The Rock could be on there.
My thing is, it might just be like my circles. So it's all anecdotal and just personal experience, but I don't know anybody who's watching Andor who doesn't like it or who started it and didn't finish it. Like, do you have any like friends like? And I don't mean like some rando internet who tweeted at you once or something like that. I mean like actual like people you converse with who were like, "Oh, this is garbage," and like jumped out.
Well, I've got a friend who's been a lifelong Star Wars fan. Reads all the what is now Legends books. He collects all kinds of things. I got him a lightsaber for his birthday, all that kind of thing. Right? He's a big Star Wars fan, and he's over at my house every week for Bible study. We were hanging out the other night, and he said, "I watched the first 2, and I just checked out. Like it was boring, didn't catch my interest. Someday I'll maybe go back and finish watching it," which I keep encouraging. Like, dude, you totally need to keep watching it.
I don't mean to shit on
hasn't.
religion, and I'm not doing that, Jason. But
Yeah,
when someone tells me they went over for Bible study and were bored by Andor, I just got a question. Like,
Church can be pretty boring. You know? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't. I mean, I think
another like Deuteronomies. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely think there are people who don't enjoy the Andor series, but I saw a really good comment by someone I follow where they were like, Andor is really well written, well directed. It's a good show. But to some Star Wars fans, it's just not fun. It doesn't have the excitement and the action and the adventure that you would expect from traditional Star Wars. And I've also seen the perspective of the show being too slow. I don't share that perspective, but it's something I've heard from people who've actually given the show a chance.
Right.
But this isn't really to your point, but Knights of Melvin has this really hilarious anti-watch party every week where the whole stream is for people who don't want to watch the Andor show. I thought that was pretty funny.
What do they watch? Like Cheers or something?
I think he just talks throughout the whole time.
Okay. Hey, if that's how you find community, if that's how you find community, I say go for it, man.
Much more interesting, I'm certain. But that's my whole thing, Jason. Like, they shouldn't be making every Star Wars series shouldn't be something that has to be just, it's bigger than the last thing. The greatest. This is the problem with kids who've grown up with sequels to video games who expect Halo 2 to be, it's gotta be $60, it's gotta be better than and then Halo 4 gotta be just it's the best Halo ever made, or it's just completely useless. And we've gotten in this.
Have you ever played Halo 4 on Mountain Dew, bro? Have you ever drinking like 2 Mountain
Bro,
Dews?
That's how Gilroy wrote Andor, Jason. Look, I'm just trying to tell you that if you don't have artistically adventurous versions of your IP, right, then your IP will not fucking be able to continue on. It's why you need it can be like it's there in that point, and that's where we made it. But if you don't, you end up with this. Let me give you an example that Santa can relate. there was this trilogy once called The Lord of the Rings, right? And it mixed live action with models and CGI characters and vast armies and all that stuff. And then with every iteration of that franchise, they had a sequel trilogy of Hobbit movies that were just bloated visual effects films and 20-minute long segments of doing the dishes and shit. And then you get to the point where you get a $500 million series that takes fucking 18 episodes to get people from one point to another, essentially. That looks like a glorified home. It looks like actually, Santa looks a lot like your background, but with the, looks like your backdrop, right? But with elves.
Wait, do
right?
this.
Which I know.
Do this like it's a plate. Oh, is that
so?
Oh yeah, that's a
Oh, you mean
movie.
at the fireplace back here, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay. I was saying washing
like that?
dishes, but just little hobby stuff. But there you go.
But what's funny is
look at that. Looks cozy.
What's funny to me is
the fireplace podcast people.
I'm never going to tell people what they should like. Ultimately, like as just a fan of anything, whether someone likes something I like or not doesn't interest me at all. Like seriously. But I find it funny that the people who complain the loudest, right, always move the goalpost, right? Yeah. So like when Kenobi wasn't working or Boba Fett wasn't working, their argument was, well, Disney they knew what to do with new characters, but they don't know what to do with the legacy characters. And then when Andor comes out, it's all these new characters, and where are the legacy characters? Where is the Vizier? Where is the Palpatines? Like as if that was going to solve all their fucking problems.
To be fair, Rob, I don't think I've actually heard anyone say this show lacks legacy characters, because you kind of don't miss them.
Every episode, but Meg, every episode, all I've heard from the cats at the barbershop is, is Tarkin gonna be in it? Who's gonna be in it that I know? Who's gonna be in it that I know? Is essentially it.
Well, the only thing I've heard is the lack of lightsabers and Force users. That's the only complaint.
Well, that gets back to a conversation we had a year ago, Jason, where I told you I fear and have feared my whole life that Star Wars only works for people, and what makes Star Wars different, essentially, from a Battlestar Galactica, a Star Trek. I'm talking in the mass public side, not in like the reality of the differences and the nuances of all these. The difference between all these things is that Star Wars has the wizards, lightsaber, magic, and if you take that out, will people ever consider that to be Star Wars? Mm-hmm. So
we saw that with a Solo, where a lot of people left Solo going, you know what? It turns out I just like the Jedi stuff, and Solo was coming out with The Last Jedi, which was the most sort of, I would say, the most fantasy friendly of the Star Wars films. That like when Rey's on Ahch-To and stuff like that feels like a fantasy film at times, and that's where that audience was.
But that was the context in which we were having the conversation, was in the context of Solo and in Rogue One, where I said I was like, I loved Catalyst in Rogue One. The only scene anyone ever talks about Rogue One is when a fucking lightsaber shows up. It drives me to no end. It pisses me off to no end. It's like you had a whole movie. Yeah, that's it. Like that's it. When so long as you throw in 3 Spider-Mans at the very end of your film, then you won. I don't think that's a smart move.
I have to be honest though. I think that all of this is a reflection of a sort of lazy journalistic style that exists in all journalism, but especially in entertainment journalism, which is the laziest of journalism, which is where you find the person who's saying that one thing, and then you do a Donald Trump and you say people are saying, but it's like really just like a couple of like chuds. Yeah, a couple of chuds that are.
Can I just address Rob's point? I think he makes a really good point about focus at the end if there's like a big moment, a big 3 Spider-Man moments. And I'm curious to hear Rob's thoughts on The Mandalorian season 2, because my frustration is that everyone praised the Luke episode, and it seems like they forgot some of the incredible moments in chapter 9, chapter 15.
Sure, and this is one of the things where I told Jason we should go back and do a rewatch on season 1 and 2, only because the show wasn't around when those came out, for we all know why.
Yeah, I agree
but
with you.
My thoughts on that episode were, there was a bunch of other brilliant stuff in season 2 that weren't picked up upon, especially the Bill Burr moment, which I think is, up until Andor, was my favorite scene in a Star Wars.
Up until Andor, you were right.
In a long time.
By the way,
in that specific episode,
Bob, that's the one character that they should bring over into Andor, who could exist in both shows just fine. He'd
have to be younger, but yeah.
Well,
But,
yeah. What do you do? Give him a little bit of hair on the top, a little bit of a mohawk strip, maybe, and he's
do you
ready
think
to
they
go.
get Aaron Paul to play a younger version of Bill Burr?
No, just get him.
So
he's
kind of baldish.
He's white and pasty. He probably look the same when he was 25 as he does when he's 60.
You said that, but he's like Strickland from Back to the Future. He never ages. So, but Meg, what I was trying to say was on that episode there were some big losses. There were some big the Dark Forces CGI troopers weren't good. The staging of that whole battle part, short of Luke coming up, it was very 1994's LucasArtsy, and I credit that fault to the director. Was it Peyton Reed? Did he do that? One of those Ant-Man dude or one of them fucking dudes. So like, but Luke shows up and it's so, even when Luke first showed up, you see that X-Wing, it's a little corny when you see that X-Wing go by like in the background. You're like, all right, but the build up and the saber combat was brilliant. The music and all that shit worked really well and they sold it in the end. But had that Luke thing had the actual Luke part not done well or had been mediocre at best, I think the other faults of that episode would have shown brighter. But there were tons of stronger elements in that second season no one talks about because Luke with the saber. So
yeah, I feel like it robbed a lot of the important.
Hey,
yeah, not you, but as a robbery.
I say adjacent, huh? Like, how about that?
Adjacent.
Hey,
it leaked a bunch of the power away from the fact that like Grogu leaving and leaving Din and like those moments were we were emotionally put into another place because nostalgia and
it's something.
And I know Megan's talking about like other powerful moments in there, but from the like to me, I feel like Mando season 2 didn't have like a finale because of this great scene. It's a great scene. I'm not taking anything away from it. I love the scene. But it also like it had more to do with Luke and me than it had to do with Din and Grogu and those other moments. And then so you kind of get that, and then you get them back together in Book of Boba Fett, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll roll with that.
To be resolved in Book of Boba Fett episode 6. So you know, like, remember at the end of Superman, it would go Superman will return. Mm-hmm. At the end of Mendo episode 2, it should be like, Luke Skywalker will return in Book of Boba Fett episode 6 and maybe some 7 or 5, like whatever.
Wait, don't put that leak out there about CGI Richard Pryor coming to the next season of Mandalorian. I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Look, that was my idea and they took it. Tyrant brings this one up. Tolkien's book split, but there's no way to try that with the Hobbit trilogy. I don't have anything to say about that. What I would say is that did spark an idea in my head that I find interesting, that I do think the Book of Shadows, was that what it was called? Shadows of Mordor? That's what Shadows of Mordor, right? The Lord of the Rings game. People generally like that. And Jedi Fallen Order, that video game, people like that story. Even the Knights of the Republic, a video game, people like this. I do think that maybe these production companies may want to hit up some of the writers of these games that have done quite well and maybe get them to conjure up 40 hours of content versus screenwriters who are usually used to writing for 1 minute and then they're kind of drag. Sometimes it feels like they conjure up 20 minutes of material and drag it out. Andor doesn't do that, but Boba Fett certainly does. And so I do think that we've found stronger lore-based storytelling, which is what the average Star Wars fan likes. Heavy on the lore. Like, like the pepper grinder. Just more lore, please. A little bit more lore, a little bit of fresh lore. But they do it really well in a majority of these games, more than they have, say, in the cinematic films or whatever. But I don't know.
Jonathan asked a question that is kind of prevalent in my mind when it comes not only to things like Andor, but say the Bad Batch.
It says, Santa, can you get me back on the basketball team? Is that what it says?
I think Dominic might be lurking.
But is there a disincentive with shows like Andor or say the Bad Batch to continue making them when you can get viewership numbers that are so much stronger for even Kenobi, right? The numbers by at least some metrics show Kenobi perform better on viewership. So do you get more Kenobi, less Andor, more Book of Boba Fett, less Bad Batch because viewership I mean, I don't know that
Santa. A healthy studio, whether it's a comic book company, a video game company, a publisher, a movie studio, whatever, a studio to survive long term needs to foster healthy relationships with its creatives. So if you bring out this Elon Musk Netflix type battle royale thing where you go, look in the rankings, you're down, you're fired, that's not the way to develop long term trust and developments with creatives.
Are you talking about a show within a show where they have to fight at the end if they don't make it? I think I like where this is heading. No.
The future of 24-hour cable news, Jason. So, like,
Filoni and Favreau taking on Deborah Chow.
the Gilroys, right? Like all three Gilroys. It's like,
well, I bring it up just because that's sort of been a talking point. Not because I adhere to it, but because you keep hearing like, well, the bean counters will just chase that and we'll get more of that and we'll get less of this other. And the concern is, well, all of Star Wars now is going to be this, and none of Star Wars is going to be that. And they base it off of some
binary
metric.
thinking, Santa. When
you're talking, exactly.
You're basically talking to a team. I learned this when I was a kid. My film teacher, Mr. Johnson, good dude, gave us a little basic lesson on critique, right? And he's like, look, if your whole basis of critiquing a movie or a film or anything is I wanted more of this and less of that, more of this, less than that, you're at the bottom. You're at the bottom end of being able to, I want more baby food or less baby food. I want more pizza and less vegetables. There's no nuance there. There's no actual discussion of the substance involved and the possibility of where it can go. The possibility of what things can be, how to iterate and improve upon. And these are concepts that are oblivious, let alone almost unattainable by the majority of fandom because they don't know iteration. They kind of know software patches. Like, you know what I mean? Like they know how to like fix something that's kind of already broken if I get a patch, but they don't know how to take it to the next phase. And if you went that route and you said, well, this didn't do so well, so we can never do it again. Well, what if that creative person, they didn't do so well, like Book of Boba Fett. Favreau goes, that didn't do so well, but I have a really strong take on it. Nope, didn't do well, can't do it. Okay, but what if that were the case, you never would have got Wrath of Khan after the Star Trek The Motion Picture. Didn't do what they wanted. The most expensive movie ever made at that point, right? Big bloated science fiction nightmare. People like it now, but let's be honest, everyone fucking hated it when it came out. My uncles would never let me fucking enjoy it in peace and quiet, So, but that iteration factor is how Mando comes out of an iterative factor. Oh, we're gonna make a Boba Fett. Oh, we're gonna do the movie, but it didn't work out. Blah 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 blah. You hook up with Filoni, and through a process of iteration and development, it becomes The Mandalorian, something that is arguably, easily argued, by the way, better than the actual Boba Fett show by a mile. So,
well, here's my argument.
Here's my take
this.
on Andor. Sorry, I honestly think Disney's not worried about Andor. I think they finally have something which is so, I don't want to say unanimously loved, but the response to Andor we've not seen before in the fandom. It's definitely been. I've seen people who genuinely just despise everything Disney has put out, and they're very much loving this series. And I think they're in it for the long haul. I think just like Book of Boba did really well, like 10 weeks after it finished, and it reached like a peak that did better than the Mando season 2 finale. I think we're going to see that with Andor, and with season 2 probably inevitably overlapping with some more, familiar Star Wars territory, whether that be elements of Star Wars Rebels or the build up to Rogue One. I think Andor is going to be a very successful series in the long term, and word of mouth has been way more powerful than we ever anticipated on this show. And when it comes to reception online, I think even I can't remember who was it I saw earlier. Someone basically showed this graph on YouTube how every episode since The Heist has demonstrably shown an increase in online interest in the show, whether it's Google Trends, Star Wars YouTubers getting views on Andor videos, things like that. So I don't think Disney's actually worried. I think they see the kind of the business potential with a show that's kind of ironically going to be a slow burn, but one that's going to generate a lot of revenue long term for them and viewership. If that made any sense.
No, I completely agree, and it awards worthy. You know, beyond visual
Yes.
effects awards, beyond visual effects awards, which, you know, that's like saying, hey, you know, Chernobyl didn't get as much numbers as Stranger Things, so we're canceling that and making Stranger. Like, no, you need a Chernobyl to also gain you some. Which, by the way, the production designer on Chernobyl is the one working on Andor, coincidentally speaking. So that's kind of the idea. But no, I completely agree with Meg. Disney's bigger problem right now is financing $200 million films straight to Disney Plus that go nowhere, like Pinocchio. And I'm not shitting on it. I love Robert Zemeckis, but like that sort of like $200 million thing where we got Tom Hanks and we're going to put out this sort of lukewarm version of a movie exclusively on Disney Plus, and then it limp dicks its way across, just confusing people. You know,
Robert Zemeckis has been asleep at the director's chair for like 20 years now. I don't think he's done anything that has been of high effort. I mean, in years. So,
I just want to kind of keep driving to where I was going. Is that I think they're trying to cast a broader net, not like the bean counter approach, the binary thing that we were talking about. You see projects like Visions where they're reaching out to anime producers, or even this Grogu and the Dust Bunnies, and Tales of the Jedi, Andor, and then Mandalorian. Eventually, a movie project. It's different kind of genres, and that's what's had me really excited about some of these announcements in the Acolyte coming up. Is we're exploring different genres within the Star Wars franchise rather than just the space fantasy. We've got mystery adventure or anime or whatever. You know, there's several different genres being explored, and Andor gives us yet another. So it's not just one genre, and if you don't like that genre, then Star Wars isn't for you. It's multiple, and maybe you're not into anime, but all of a sudden, anime fans get a flavor of Star Wars that meets their interest, or
you want to know
whatever the next thing.
And I hate to be jumping in a lot today, but Santa, you make a great point, and I think an example of this that perhaps we can all follow is there was a game called Cyberpunk that did questionably well, you know, and then an anime series called Edge Runners came out, and boom, sales of the game right back up. You know, engagement across a bunch of new fans tuning in to watch that anime right back up. Why? Because it injected a grip of life into a story that you were then able to go and re-experience the world in this game that people kind of forgot about. And that's the thing. Like, if they make an anime series that literally prequels or gets way into the story left off by the sequels, and it's super energetic and actiony and all that stuff, that's going to get people to go right back and rewatch those films. And the most recent example on Disney Plus was, I got my friends now who are telling me, Marvel Phase 4, blah, 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 loss, loser. And I'm like, you're forgetting Phase 2 when everyone hated Age of Ultron except me. But I understood why people hated it, and people hated it, bro. But when that fucking WandaVision came out, then everyone's like, Age of Ultron, #1 stream movie on Disney Plus. So like as Lucas showed, if you can actually re-engage your audience with side stories. Like the Clone Wars is a great example. People loving if the Clone Wars didn't come out, do you really think there'd be as much love for the prequels? That Clone Wars series, because of the length of the story and the characters who grow over time, you know, and the length of the time it came out, built a whole audience and gave credibility to a story that many people found non-existent.
Okay,
non-existent.
Many people are saying the prequels suck. I'm joking. I'm joking.
He has a point. No.
Let me mention another one that I think Meg has kind of brought up. But since the original trilogy, one thing that's been kind of criticized lately is the lack of romance stories within Star Wars. That, you know, we had Han and Luke. We had Han and Luke. What did I say?
Han and Luke, they were...
And Leia. And we had Anakin and Padme, but we haven't really had any of the romance aspect brought in.
They were kind of a little incel-ish, weren't they?
We get spy thriller, we get mystery thriller, we get where you think maybe a romance story in there. I know that in several novels they explore that. You get kind of romance-based genre. stories where they've gotten romance authors to actually create some of these stories in the High Republic era, for example.
You're making me think of what Disney's been doing with Thor. And like Thor, like in Disney and Star Wars, they keep
Love and Thunder.
It's an amalgamation of the first structure or first genre, superhero or Star Wars as a genre, and then something else. And then they put it out, and like Thor comes out, and it's like romantic comedy, and people are like, I hate this, and some people love it. But that's how it's always going to be. It's always going to be.
But we haven't had that in any of the Star Wars projects outside of
Lost Stars as a book,
the novels.
Yeah, as a romance novel, I guess you call it. We call it a romance novel. Is that fair? I don't know.
Well, there are a couple of them in the Disney era of Star Wars that are romance novels. There's one based on Batu. It's all a romance. One of the ones in the High Republic is
there's the wedding dress one.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, but my favorite is the courtship of Princess Leia. Yeah, that was my personal favorite.
I haven't seen any projects that kind of focus on a romance side of the genre within Star Wars in live action, animated, or anything like that.
Right.
Can I comment on Baymax? Because Baymax wants to pick a little fight with Rob. Anime attached to Star Wars, you mean Resistance? Joke? No. I'm talking about a real anime by a studio like Studio 4C, Madhouse, any, not Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm or Lucasfilm Animation pretending to be an anime studio because they threw anime visuals. That's that surface level bullshit. Look, we made it look like a Ghibli cel shaded, so that makes it so like that. No, not that at all.
But it does seem like one thing doing something good doesn't even mean that they're going to do more of it. I feel like because you could go and be like, oh, we want to do more Andor, but if you don't get Tony Gilroy, doesn't mean you're going to get something more like Andor. So I predict that we're going to start seeing stuff like, oh guys, it's coming. It's going to be like Book of Boba Fett 2 is going to be like that, but like Andor. And it's going to be like, well, does it have Tony Gilroy? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't have somebody with like a scholar's degree about revolution or I don't know, bounty hunting. I don't know what they would do for Book of Boba Fett 2.
No,
but
Jason.
It won't apply.
No, Book of Boba Fett season 2 is going to be like The Masked Singer. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be musicals. Everyone's going to be wearing masks. And they're never taking them off. It's going to be, you don't even know who's singing the song. You have 5 people, they're all going to be singing. You don't know who's singing.
So they're not doing that.
No, that's what we're doing. We're not, no? Oh, shucks.
Yeah, they're not doing that, Filoni. And by the way, I think Kathleen Kennedy has some tuna salad in there, and the lunch bag is not. It's just in a bag. You could just open it up and take it out of the fridge. Nobody will. You ever watch
the first Mission Impossible film, Jason?
That's the only one I've seen.
You remember? Was it Vanessa Redgrave? Was the older? She played Max, the actress who played Max.
Wait, Max from our show?
No. Max is the arms dealer that's like trying to get the knock list. She's like an older British woman who's like basically trying to she's like seducing every younger dude in the movie. Like, I couldn't help but watching it going like, that's how Frank Marshall sees Kathleen Kennedy. You know what I'm saying? Just send her in. Maybe. She'll get you a young JJ. She'll get you a young Rian Johansson. She'll get you a young Chronicles dude. I forget his name. A Trank Top. How about that?
Do you cats want to talk about Kino Living? I feel like we kind of already did over the last couple of days, but do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Hold on, Jason,
the Hollywood Reporter and yeah.
Let's ask Meg.
Sorry, did you say something?
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. He's just being mean. He's just being a mean old meanhead. No, yeah, whenever anybody has got to go, by all means, just say bye and go. Just go, all right? If you need to go. But Kino lives, and there's actually just left. Kino
finally.
Lives. Bestman has an article up, and it's about Entertainment Weekly. He says, "Oh my God, I wish I knew. I'm a fan from here on. So whether he comes back this season or not, I don't know. I think it's opened with what happens in his storyline. Oh, this is Andy Serkis. he certainly wasn't killed, so we know that much. And that's the interesting thing about Tony Gilroy's writing. If you're not dead, then who knows what's going to happen to your character. So his return could happen. And then Gilroy, talking to Hollywood Reporter, goes on and basically says, he's not dead, is he? I don't see him dying. And you can read the whole article on Bestman Bulletin with all that stuff. And he has this funny video, by the way. But yeah, I say he's dead. I say he's dead. I don't care if they. I mean, yeah,
I think he's alive.
Yeah, you think he's alive because what's he gonna do? He can't swim.
He'll come back in season 2 briefly, probably.
You think we'll just like see him like? You think it'll be like, oh hey, it's you, and they're just like on Yavin 4 together, or you think he'll come back in like an important like big way? Like that's my whole thing is would they say that he's alive if they have plans for him, or would they not say that if they have plans for him? See, it's all double speak. It's all trickery.
I don't know. With Tony Gilroy, he's more like to the point.
Yeah.
I would take him more at his word because he's been pretty blunt so far, and everything he says seems to come to fruition. Yeah. I don't think they had plans to kill off Kino. It's more like the Cad Bane situation. If they need to bring him back, they will. Mm-hmm. Because the idea of not having a definitive answer means that Kino could have been killed by the guards of the prison who were hiding from the stampede of prisoners, or somehow he made his way out of there and then they don't even need to explain it, sort of thing. Yeah. But I do think somehow it's dumb if he did die, because wouldn't you rather just jump into the water anyway than go back to that prison?
That's where my head was. Is I mean, when I read that, I imagined how does he live? I imagine he does come to that conclusion. He jumps into the water, and maybe somehow the men in the water save him because he saved them. That's the only thing I could think of. You know what I mean? That's because if he stays there, they're not going to let him live. They wouldn't be like, well, back to the slave gang, back to the chain gang. They would no, they're going to kill him for what he did. He's the guy who got on the speaker and was like, riot, do it. They could torture him, but to what end? I mean, you get that sort of sadist release that what's her name gets out of torturing Bix, but there still is an agenda there at the end of the day. There is an agenda, and there's no agenda for him after this point. He would have to be killed by them. So he had to have jumped, I would have to think. And then the only other theory I can come up with is the guards, they don't get to go back to work tomorrow. So maybe the guards are going to defect in that moment too and run. And maybe he runs with the guards. I mean, how do they get to work every day unless they just live there? I think they live there for the most part. Yeah. That was, but there might be like one shuttle or one thing that they could use, or maybe like, when something comes to some ship comes or something. Yeah,
shuttles
like that.
Show up, Jason. That's how
exactly.
they all arrive there. I mean,
exactly. But like, were they able to put out like a distress call? Because we did see search ships coming at the end. So I guess one of those search ships, the search ships that are looking for Andor in the water, I suppose they could steal one of those too. So we do know that the call is answered. Like, people do come. At least we think so. Unless that's them, unless that's the guard searching. Like I said, I just don't see it being cool for them when they have essentially, like, the Empire has covertly moved to a slave economy. They're not acting like it's a slave economy, but it is. And that's why, and that's what the prisoners kind of figure out. Yeah.
Good capitalism, Jason. You know what I'm saying?
But they're finding reason. Well, that's like what we, in this recent election in the United States, they wanted to remove slavery from the Constitution of some states. Those states voted not to remove slavery from the Constitution because then the people imprisoned in the prison system can't be forced to work as slaves. So but that's how we do's it. But how they're doing it.
Who else is going to mow the governor's lawn, Jason? Come on.
Yeah. It would be kind of cool, though, just like break some rocks for a little while. I mean, I can't lie. I would have a little bit of fun breaking rocks for just a little while, like a day, like prison camp.
All that Jason knows about prison has come from like shoddy cartoons and movies. Okay.
Hey, I watched Oz. I seen Oz. I know all about it. But yeah. Anyways, I hope he's alive. At the same time, I thought it was when I watched the episode the first time, I thought he knew. Everyone's like, I'm already dead. And I thought he knew he was already dead because he knew he couldn't swim. He knew where they were going and what was going to be the end game, and he knew he couldn't do it. So, I mean, I guess there could be a thing, where Kino breaks open a panel and he's got his little raft that he made because he was thinking about doing it in Shawshank style for you. I mean, you could do that stuff, but I feel like most of that stuff kind of robs the moment. Does it? I mean,
all of that would rob the moment. Yeah.
I mean, him living robbed him, so him even saying that. I mean, I want Kino to live because I'm a human. I'm not entirely a sociopath, so I don't want him to like die. I want him to live, but at the same time, I'm like, man, as the the hard ass, the person who appreciates how hard ass this story has been, I'm like, I think he should die. Or they should be extra cruel where we cut back to him next season. We think he's making it and then he dies on camera next season in that spot, but
sure.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, we're at the hour mark. Did we cover it all today?
Just one last thing really quickly is that the director of Indiana Jones 5 let it be known that the trailer's coming within a month. Anybody with half a brain can do the fan math and say that's going to be on a movie with blue space cats. And that makes sense to me. Meg, I said blue space cats and Meg laughed. She hates blue space cats. But no, that's going to be
turned her back into a black cat.
No, but it's going to be on Avatar. I think that's and don't fall for the grifters. I've already fucking seen it, dude. I've already seen people going like, "Hey, Indie Show's coming on Avatar." And people are like, "Oh shit," and they're like retweeting it and stuff. That's Mangold already told you it's coming in a month. Like that's the story, and people are trying to make it this other thing. Don't buy any of it. And Mangold set the record straight that those test screening stuff, all of that's not true. And honestly, if it was true, he just wouldn't address it. He would just do what everybody else does and just wouldn't address it. But they've never tested a Star Wars film. And if you've ever heard anybody pushing that, that's always been a lie. So when I heard that for Indy, I thought, man, Gold, what are you doing?
No, that's not true, Jason. Those films have always tested me and my patience and my willingness to give fuck all about this stupid industry and everything else. So. All right, Jay. He gets real cranky when he doesn't have his coffee in the morning. I just want Mangold to team up with Gilroy and give us a Man's Gilroy Gold production. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we got to get these two together.
Yeah, I'd watch it. I just want to say, listen to that Mark Maron interview with Gilroy, and you'll see he's one of us. He's not one of them for sure. He's the most one of us that we've ever got over there, surprisingly. Yep. And what else was there? We'll be back tomorrow. The show is now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or whatever the Apple Podcast thing is called. It's on all of that stuff now. So if you can't watch the show and you want to listen to it in audio form, you can subscribe to it that way. Just look at the Making Star Wars show. It's on all of the things, and the video is also on Spotify. So for some reason, you're able to have like the Spotify thing open at work and sneak video in, and it's not as obvious as YouTube. You can do that too. And if you're listening on Spotify and I fuck up and I don't say something, or you think, is Rob doing George Lucas? I'm not sure. You can click the little video thing on Spotify and it will pick up, and then you can see the video, and then you can close it and go back to the podcast only, which I appreciate that. I think that's a better format.
Look, someone's got to pay the Kushner brothers some money, and that's us. Now we're making we're in the Kushner's business, right, Jason? That's how we're doing it.
But yeah. And
what can you do?
We'll probably
use the tools of our enemies against them, right? Like there you go.
I got to make it a musical. Mike Porter dad joke. what would you call a pastry that could sing and entered the top 40 charts? What would you
Porter
call it?
Dad joke. Classic Santa question, never answers it. Just
I feel like this is a setup for us to say something dirty and then Santa to go like, no Christmas for you, off the list. But also, I think Santa should be promoting Violent Night and trying to get some of that Violent Night bucks on YouTube, right? Pop-Tarts. What would you call a pastry that could sing and enter the top 40 charts? Mike, Stan, Shield.
These nuts,
Pop-Tarts.
Jason!
Hey.
These nuts! Ho! Freaking ho! All right, that's enough.
Okay.
He's really upset about that Elves Union thing.
What would you call
Not
one that
going
was
well.
naked? Menudo. I wrote that just now. All right.
Okay, can we end the show now for the love of
We
Christ?
can.
Like-
Thanks,
Done
everyone.
enough.
Subscribe to all of our shit. If not, fuck you. Don't care. Love you guys. Like the video. Subscribe to everything. See you tomorrow. It's the end of the show. Where's it at? There it is.
The
Bye.
end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go.
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships.